All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I want to specifically thank all of the members who are joining us. This is outstanding. I want to thank everybody, obviously, for taking the time to be here, because today lawmakers from Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and Virginia have come together because our states share not just borders, but the same regional grid. And right now, that grid is under unsustainable stress. Practical solutions require leaders to work together, not just talk past one another. So by collaborating across state lines, we're putting partisanship aside and focusing on how we can achieve affordable, reliable energy that powers opportunity in every community. Policy is not about politics, it's about people. It's about the workers whose jobs depend on affordable energy. It's about the parents who are already struggling to pay their bills. And it's about the communities that are counting on us to protect both opportunity and security. So as we continue this regional conversation, I want to take a moment to recognize one of my colleagues whose leadership has been instrumental in advancing energy policy discussions here in Pennsylvania. Representative Marty Causer, who serves as the Republican chair of the House Energy Committee, has been a steadfast advocate for common sense energy policy that balances economic growth with environmental stewardship. I'm very grateful for his partnership and his leadership and his ongoing work to ensure that Pennsylvania remains an energy leader for our region and the nation. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Chairman Marty Causer for remarks.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chairman Rowe, for organizing this event today. Thank you to all of our testifiers at the policy hearing and for all the lawmakers from Maryland, New Jersey, and Virginia for taking the time to join us. As you heard loud and clear at our policy hearing this morning, we're all in this together, and we're all working very hard to keep the lights on, and that's our goal, and that's what we have to do in this state. Pennsylvania is an energy powerhouse, and we know that. Our oil, natural gas, coal, and nuclear facilities have long provided affordable, reliable power to families and businesses all across the Mid-Atlantic. Yet current proposals from Governor Shapiro, think RGGI, there's a whole list of proposals that are problematic, threaten to upend that legacy with costly mandates, rapid plant retirements, and rush timelines for supposed clean energy goals. We continually fight back against these proposals because Pennsylvanians don't want to be left in the dark. We have a responsibility to ensure that that doesn't happen. Our grid is becoming less reliable because demand is rapidly increasing and supply hasn't kept up with demand. But today we're here to say there is good news. Pennsylvania absolutely can meet the demand for this growing demand for electricity. We can do that by enacting policies that support energy development that will put us in a position to both capitalize on economic opportunities and ensure lower energy costs for consumers here in the Commonwealth and all across our region. So today we are coming together as state leaders in this region to say that we can work together and benefit all of our states by increasing energy production. The key is policy that supports that energy production. And that's exactly what we're focused on. And again, I want to thank Chairman Rowe for putting this event together. And I want to introduce one of our colleagues from our neighboring state, Delegate Chisholm, from the great state of Maryland.
Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate everybody being here. You know, when I was in college, I had an old redneck professor, used to wear coveralls, and he'd always say, let's cut to the chase. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's cut to the chase. This is a problem that a sixth grader can recognize. We are methodically and systematically diminishing supply as demand increases. And we're doing that in the name of some green goddess of energy that cannot replace the energy we're taking offline. I mentioned in the hearing that we have five power plants we've taken offline in the state of Maryland that all point to one thing, RGGI. We left because of RGGI, 3,200 megawatts. That's enough for 2 million homes to be powered every single day. And we have two more that were given a stay of execution by FERC, Brandon Shores and Wagner, that provide another 2,000 megawatts. So we have to stop this absurd notion that we're going to save the world through RGGI by taking off all of these power plants that provide essential power to everybody within our grid. We appreciate Pennsylvania, we really do. We kid, but we're serious. Thank you. Thank you for our power. We're more than happy to grab it and then pat ourselves on the back and say, look at us, we're green. It's a bunch of crap, and it's gotta stop. It's gotta stop. This is serious stuff. People have to make life-altering decisions because they can't pay their power bill, and that's because we keep bending the knee, this idea that we're saving the world with green energy. I want to thank you all for being here. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend and colleague, Robin Grammer.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you, and thanks so much for being here today. Earlier this year, Maryland was told by PJM we are faced with a, quote, imminent electricity reliability emergency. It would affect the entire Baltimore region, including residences, hospitals, military installations, wastewater treatment plants, and other facilities. Folks, energy planning should be the most boring subject that we have to face as policymakers. You have what we have now and what we have in the future. Unfortunately, in Maryland, and it looks like across the mid-Atlantic, we are faced with an extremist energy agenda. Folks like Wes Moore are using this to fuel Democratic campaigns throughout the states and for his run for president. We want you to know, we want the people of Maryland to know, we will not stop fighting against this. I'm proud to be, the folks from the Maryland Freedom Caucus are proud to be part of this coalition. And next up, we're going back to the free state of Maryland. With that, I'm going to introduce my friend, John DiMaio from New Jersey.
Chairman, thank you for putting this together. I'm happy to be here on behalf of New Jersey today. New Jersey families face a 20% spike in utility bills this winter, a direct result of our state's failed energy policies. Business costs will rise. When will the inflationary effect take effect in places like grocery stores? Again, so soon after we're struggling to pay our bills. I have an issue in our county and even in my hometown with regard to companies, businesses in our county that want to put in solar fields, but each of these plants has a gas cogeneration plant. So the metering they want them to build would cost like $10 million, and they want to pay for the solar field. One's 3.3 megawatts, and the other one's about 5-point-some megawatts. We need to get energy on the grid, but because they have gas cogeneration plants, they won't let them be paid back at the market rate that they need to get to make the project feasible without this metering. So both of those things are stalled. It just goes to show you the contrary. Here we have solar panels, which the Democrats like. I'm not a big promoter, but we need an all of the above approach, and they're blocking it because of a silly rule at the Board of Public Utilities, and they formally deny the applications on these things. It's ridiculous. We cannot afford to leave 1 megawatt of power that we could build off the grid right now. We need to quickly get gas generation plants up in New Jersey. We know this. There's plants that are ready that have been shut down. By the way, we break the record. We have about 6 megawatts of power that has been taken off our grid. Thank God for states like Pennsylvania, which can export power to the grid. But we need to do our part. We're going to keep pushing and fighting Trenton on this to get more realistic energy on the grid. For the Republican caucus, we're going to fight to get this back the way it belongs. So we're all energy independent, and we can go about our businesses and be more productive and sustainable. Thank you. Sustainable through the years. We shouldn't have gone backwards like this. Should be shutting power plants down before we replace them. It's nonsense. We need to stop the stupidity. Thank you. And now Chairman Rowe's going to follow.
I'm going to put a nice bow on this. I think we're all looking very much forward to continuing to shine a light on how our current energy policies are impacting affordability, reliability, and we're looking to chart a better path forward, not only for Pennsylvania, but for our neighbors and beyond. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions for just a couple of minutes. Yes, ma'am.
If Shapiro wants to leave PJM, what's going to happen for all of you if the state leaves?
So I want to ask some of our Maryland and New Jersey folks that just spoke to come up. I know that the governor is talking about wanting to exit PJM. What does that mean for the lights in New Jersey and Maryland and Virginia? What does that do to the lights?
If Pennsylvania pulls out of PJM, Maryland is completely underwater. And I want everybody to understand here that quote I made previously about the electricity reliability emergency, we're already running our base load power on a waiver from the federal government. So I don't think anybody in the region understands the magnitude of this problem. Maryland was told we had about a year until blackouts. PJ moved that up and they were like, well, you got several weeks until blackouts. Now, New Jersey is told they have a year until blackouts. I wonder how quickly that's going to be moved up. So we're in a really untenable situation. This is about basic math. We need more power online immediately.
That's our position is, listen, we need to get to work for our own sustainability and also our own responsibility. But the reality is, if the state of Pennsylvania leaves PJM, I don't even know how that would happen. Because there's companies that operate in New Jersey that produce in other states, so energy would flow. But we need to work together for now, but we all have to do our part. We have to convince our majority party in New Jersey to get on board and get generation up as quickly as possible.
The reality is Maryland imports 40% of their energy, Virginia imports 38%, New Jersey imports 43%, and their energy, Pennsylvania, we're one of the last net energy exporting states on the grid, and the common denominator of all of those states is that they all are either in RGGI or they have, in Virginia, the case of the Clean Economy Act. So if Pennsylvania enters into that RGGI, you're going to see the exact same thing happen, and we're going to see blackouts here like we saw in Europe, like we saw in Maryland. Yes, ma'am.
With Fox 45 in Baltimore, Maryland. So are each of the states in this coalition wanting to leave the regional greenhouse gas initiative program, and how likely is that to actually happen?
I will defer to my colleagues from those states to speak for them, but at least for me, I think if we cannot eliminate the sort of Damocles that is regional greenhouse gas initiative, we are going to continue to see energy investments going elsewhere. There's a reason that Alaska got a $44 billion LNG deal. There's a reason that Louisiana got a $17.5 billion LNG deal. There's a reason we haven't broken ground on new generation in Pennsylvania since 2019, and that's because nobody wants to come here to invest billions of dollars in generation, knowing that if RGGI is upheld by the Supreme Court, there's a $1 billion tax dropped on them, and they're not going to have any legislative recourse because it was entered through by the executive instead of the legislative process, which is what other states have done. Thoughts on RGGI?
I'm waiting for next Tuesday to find out what happens in New Jersey, because the outcome depends on that election. But I can tell you, should it be our side, we will be out of RGGI.
Woo.
That quick.
Woo.
It's a $500 million cost to ratepayers in New Jersey. Then you have 3% societal benefit charge. Then you have over 6.5% sales tax. If we could eliminate those things to help our ratepayers in the interim, and then we can get more supply back online. It's key. We have to get supply. We have to get back to gas and take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll answer for Maryland. Yeah, we want out of RGGI. We want out of the clean energy mandates. This is about one thing, or two things, let me say, affordability and reliability. And let me tell you what, we have to actually pass legislation that's signed by the governor to get out of RGGI, but you know what's going to happen? If we start facing actual blackouts in Maryland, it's going to change real quick. So the situation is dire. We don't need a situation where we have to start having multiple state blackouts. We need action today.
One of the great takeaways we had from our hearing today was a reminder that before Pennsylvania was entered into RGGI unilaterally by Governor Tom Wolf, we were lowering our rate costs and we were lowering our emissions faster than our RGGI neighbor states, whose emissions were going down slower than ours and their rates were going up. So it doesn't matter if you're talking environmental or economic. Either way, RGGI's a loser for Pennsylvanians and residents of any other state. Anything else?
Sure, I'll go again. This is mostly for Pennsylvania, but if Shapiro tries to leave PJM, is there a legislative recourse you could take? Are we on another crash course for this back and forth with RGGI? You guys have been unable to get us out of it so far, so would leaving PJM be the same story?
I would imagine that they would probably end up in the courts, much like RGGI has. RGGI is essentially, let's be honest, a tax. And a tax is not something that I believe should be constitutionally able to be imposed by a governor unilaterally. It should have to go through the legislative process. Unfortunately, Governor Wolf and Governor Shapiro disagree. I would imagine that exiting PJM, were that something the governor tried to do on his own would most likely face some legal challenges, but it's a conversation worth having when Governor Shapiro wants to leave PJM because our rates in Pennsylvania are going up because we are subsidizing the poor energy policy of the governors of New Jersey and Maryland. We are propping up their industries. Pennsylvania ratepayers are paying for the energy that we are exporting to other states because they can't generate their own. So I find it ironic that the governor is this week spending his time campaigning in states to promote policies that are leading him to want to exit PJM in the first place. It's a little bit of a cognitive dissonance. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that briefly. When PJM closed, they made one big suggestion, and they said you should keep your energy sources online now until you have a replacement. What a radical thought. What a radical thought. If that one thing had been done for the state of Maryland, we would have a much more affordable marketplace and a much more stable system of delivery, I'd say, for the entire region. But what you have is a political push to not only close your current sources, but subsidize sources via, you heard the, I believe it was the gentlelady from the coal industry say, the OREX. People don't know this, but U.S. Wind in Maryland, which is the sole, wind provider, allegedly, they're going to get, or they were going to get, $5 billion in OREX over 20 years. So ratepayers are paying usually both ways. They're paying in tax subsidies and they're paying in higher rates. And if we had just keep our current sources online, we'd fix the whole problem. But instead, we're relying on waivers from PJM granted by the Trump administration to keep our baseload energy up.
Anything else? All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much. We'll happy to follow up questions in person later if necessary. Thank you guys all for coming.
Absolutely.